a tree, and maybe then we'd talk, or sit silently and listen to our thoughts, illusions of someday, cast in a golden light. No dress rehearsal, this is our life. And that's where the hornet stung me, and I had a feverish dream with revenge and doubt. Tonight we smoke them out. You are ahead by a century. You are ahead by a century. You are ahead by a century. Stare in the morning shroud, and then the day began. I tilted your cloud, you tilted my hand. Rain falls in real time, and rain fell through the night. No dress rehearsal, this is our life. Well, that's when the hornet stung me, and I had a serious dream with revenge and doubt. Tonight we smoke them out. You are ahead by a century. 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 And disappointing you is getting me down. Hydrate or drive, absolutely. That is good. Dihydrogen oxide. That is very, very good. Dihydrogen oxide.
Hey, there are squirrels. Just chasing each other around and round and round forever and ever and ever. Very metaphorical, huh? Alright, so, hey, this is Ron in rural New Hampshire. Streaming on Twitch on the Double Tribble, and I had a schedule today for 9 o'clock for a news thing, and obviously didn't make that, so I'm calling it the new news now, noon news, even though we're still about 15 minutes before noon here, Eastern Daylight Savings Time. But yeah, I haven't done a news thing in a while, so I thought I'd do one. And there are a couple things that going on that I thought should probably mention. I don't watch mainstream news anymore. I have no idea what they're covering or anything at this point anymore. I just look up stuff on my own, and because 90% of what they put out now is just fluff. Just to keep people, what do they call it? Bread and circuses. Circuses. That's 90% of it is circuses. Every once in a while they come up with something, but it's not worth my time to watch. Sort through all that other crap just to try to find a story. But it's easier just to find stories on social media, or just me going to certain news sites that I like to go to and stuff like that. So anyway, I did find a couple things this morning, and I wanted to cover those. It should be a quick stream. Shouldn't be a lot covered here. What else do I have to say here? I'm supposed to say something else. Oh yeah, Double Tribble, right? Double Tribble's the channel. I cover mostly news and technology. Science and technology. And like last night, we did some experiments and stuff like that live on stream. So that's kind of cool. I want to do at least once a week doing IRL, so I can get out and walk around a little bit, so I'm not getting so fat. Let's see, what else? Vegan. I've been vegan for over 4 decades, so I can talk about that every once in a while. We did a news story on that a few days ago. And just, normal stuff. And then civics. That's another big thing. I haven't talked too much about that, but that's a big thing. So maybe we can get some of that in here during the news. I put news and analysis, which means I'm gonna say what's being reported as the news, and then I'll try to give as much background as I know about it, and maybe even we can look up some stuff, if I don't know exactly what they're talking about, and and then explain. Sometimes if it's like a U.S. story, I'm here in the U.S., so one of the problems we have there is people don't even know anything about civics, don't know how the government works, don't know anything. And a lot of times news stories will come up, and even the reporters don't know. The reporters have no clue. They're ignorant too. So what do? They come up, they'll report something, and they'll report something that's just blatantly not correct. According to like what the Constitution says, or what what's going on. Common knowledge for somebody who's educated enough to be an actual citizen in the U.S. So that's another reason why I don't watch mainstream media. So I'll report this stuff, and if there's anything that has to do with civics or anything like that, or any kind of background that I think might be important for people to know in order to understand what the news story is actually about, and how we should be reacting to it, then I'll go ahead and do that. So there's a story. Well, let's see here. I guess we'll start with this one. This is something going on in Syria. AP is reporting this morning. They said that they're calling them U.S.-backed Syrian fighters. So I don't know. I don't know what that means. It's U.S., right? And they killed 18 pro-government gunmen in an attack in eastern Syria. And this province called Deir el-Zur, not sure how you pronounce it. Do we have a pronunciation here on this word? No, it's it's Arabic or something. Deir ez-Zor, maybe. Anyway, they said that there's some fighting. Tensions in the region following last month's killing of top commander of Lebanon's Hezbollah, right, in Beirut. Okay, so this is part of the greater Middle East war that's going on right now. And this one is in Syria. And U.S. troops are in Syria. We didn't know that. Fighting, apparently. Let me cover the story first, and I'll get into some other stuff. Syrian government, which is backed by Russia, and Iran, right, wants to liberate eastern Syria from U.S. forces who have been deployed in the area since 2015 to help fight the Islamic State group, ostensibly. It doesn't say ostensibly in the article, but ostensibly. Ostensibly, that's why we're there. Since 2015, so almost a decade, we've had troops. Probably more than a decade, right? Because, the advanced guys go in beforehand, and it never gets reported. Monday's attack by members of the group, Arab-led, some military something council, I don't know, some group. And the Kurdish. Now, why on earth the Kurdish would be helping us at this point is beyond me. How we fucked them over so bad, I just don't understand why they would be even involved with us at this point. But strange bedfellows and all that kind of stuff. So they're saying that it was an attack on Monday, which was today. Today's Monday, right? So today, but it happened earlier, right? Because they're 10 hours ahead or whatever from the U.S. here. And it says part of the U.S.-backed and Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces. Right. So it was an attack by our guys against this Arab no. It was led by an Arab group called El Zor Military Council. So I don't know what that is. But they're saying that it was in retaliation for government forces shelling the villages. They're just fighting, right? They're fighting over each other, and it's here. Let me give you the key line out of this article, just so you know what's going. They'll give you the whole thing. Here's the key line. Okay. The renewed clashes in Syria's eastern oil-rich province of Deir el-Zor came amid high tensions in the region following last month's killing of a top commander of Lebanon's militant Hezbollah group in Beirut and the political leader of the Palestinian Hamas group in Iran. Right, so it's part of the Middle East war. And so the real reason we're in eastern Syria is because of the oil. That's where they're big oil, they've got big oil fields out there, mostly undeveloped. That's why our troops are there. That's the real reason. If you want to try, there's been no declaration of war. Congress didn't order troops into Syria. Only Congress can do that, right? Only Congress can say we're going to fight somewhere. And the whole reason why this is like this is because way back, a quarter of a century ago now, just about, there was the 9/11 attack, and Congress, the name of the group at that time was called Al-Qaeda, and they attacked us, because they didn't like us getting involved over there in the Middle East. So they attacked, knocked down a couple of our buildings. Everybody got upset, and Congress passed this sweeping, vague authorization for military force that said that the president could deploy troops anywhere in the world to fight, as long as they were fighting Al-Qaeda or affiliated groups. Al-Qaeda's gone, right? The leader got killed more than a decade ago. I mean, they got wiped out. But the military, the U.S. military, is still using that justification to just go anywhere in the world and fight and start a war and basically there's no war powers anymore for Congress, is what it comes down to. So it's really a bad situation, and this that law keeps coming up over and over, and Congress just keeps approving it because citizens are dumb. They don't know. They don't even understand. They don't even understand that Congress is the only power, according to the Constitution, according to our laws of the U.S., Congress is the only ones who can say that we can go fight somewhere. Nobody else. The president can't do that. Nobody can do that. And once they say go fight, then the president can, direct the troops and stuff to win the war, to fight, achieve the objective that Congress sets. That's how it's supposed to be. That's not even like that. I don't even think the president even has control over this anymore. I think it's some executive somewhere in an oil company who's directing where the troops are going to go and what they're going to do and stuff at this point. So it's really sad. But so there we go. 18 more people killed in this thing. And the U.S. has been there for a decade, just occupying this land in Syria, and nobody knows about it. I don't know if this was even covered by mainstream media. I have no idea. But if you're watching this, then you know about it right now, right? So I don't know if I explained that properly. What was going on there, right? 9/11 happened. Everybody was all upset. Congress passed this vague law that said that the president can send troops anywhere in the world as long as they're fighting Al-Qaeda or affiliated groups. And at some point, somebody said that this other group, or any group that they find, they can say, oh, they're affiliated with Al-Qaeda, so we're going to go get them, even though Al-Qaeda's been gone, right, for a long time. And we wiped out Al-Qaeda. And we go, oh, wait, we need Al-Qaeda to justify going into these things. So they propped up, sent in, our CIA or whoever to pretend to be Al-Qaeda so that we can and affiliate with any group that we want to attack. That's kind of what's going on. So, yeah, sucks. Okay, another big story. Let me show you where this is on a map here, so just so you can... Okay, there we go. Let me see if I can pull this up so we can see what we're talking about, right? I'm supposed to be not just telling you stuff, but showing you. And there we go. All right, so this is Syria. This big thing here is Syria. Iraq's over here. Let's see, what is this? Lebanon and Israel, and I don't know who's that down there. Anyway, so you get this country here, and this is being run by an autocrat who's killed hundreds of thousands of his own citizens, And so the U.S. is over here, where all the oil fields are. And it's so stupid when the previous president, number 45, was in, the idiot who he doesn't even know how to find anyway, we had our troops there, and we're fighting, and there's just a lot. The Kurds were up here, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. So we had to get involved, right? And our troops were in there, and at some point after Syria, the autocrat in Syria got control over this part of his country anyway, and the fighting was mostly done. And we abandoned the Kurds up here. Then Trump said, "Oh, we're gonna remove our troops from Syria." He announced that. We're pulling the troops out. And all the oil executives and everybody just freaked out. And said, "What the fuck are you doing? Those are where the oil fields are. This is not publicly. This was behind the scenes." And then like the next day or so Trump says, "Oh no, we're gonna leave him in there, we're gonna leave him in there to protect the oil." He's clueless. He doesn't know what's going on. So anyway, that's why they're there. They're there because the oil industry wants the U.S. there to control that, and it's not to extract the oil and use it. It's to prevent people from extracting that oil and putting it on the market. That's what all these wars are about. It's not to grab the oil and pump it out and sell it. That's not why they do it. because that's kind of hard to do. It's hard to go into a place and disrupt it and take control of it and get it stable enough in order to put in that kind of capital and investment and infrastructure in order to extract the oil. That's expensive to do that, and time consuming and everything else. It's a lot easier just to go in there and screw things up and keep it so messed up that they can't pull the oil out. And then that reduces the supply of oil on the market, which drives up the price of everybody who's in the industry. So that's how the wars go now for a long time. That's how they've been going. They just the war in Iraq. That's the same thing. Iraq had a whole bunch of oil that they were selling on the market, and we tried to do all kinds of different ways to keep them from selling that oil on the market. And Saddam Hussein kept doing it. He kept selling that oil, and so we invaded the country. That was the reason why we went in there. Had nothing to do with 9/11. Had nothing to do with weapons of mass destruction. So anyway, so that's what's going on. That's if you don't think that's true, you don't think that's what's going on or whatever, just try those glasses on. Put those glasses on and view the world through those lenses for a while and see if things make a little bit more sense. And you'll find that they do. So anyway, so we're fighting over here in this part of the world, part of Syria. They're saying U.S. backed, but it's U.S. So that was one story. The other story, which was really interesting, is in the Ukrainian war. So we're fighting a war in Ukraine. Ukraine is. Let's see if I have a picture of Ukraine here so we can show you what that looks like and where it is. Okay, this is kind of an icky. Well, we'll show you here. Okay, so here's the world. All right, U.S. is over here. Russia, China, India. So there's Egypt, right? Saudi Arabia. Russia, I already said. Right, Finland, Sweden, Norway, all these. So you kind of get a feel for where this is at, right? And this is the Ukraine, or the Ukraine. I do it out of habit. I call it Ukraine, the Ukraine. A lot of people say the Ukraine, and the reason why they call it the Ukraine is the translation from one of the languages there is Ukraine means the mountains or a specific mountain range. And so you would say the mountains, right? Or you'd say the mountain range or something like that. And they screwed it up in the translation, and for a long time they just called it the Ukraine, but it's just Ukraine. It's not the Ukraine. And I still do it myself. I do it accidentally. Let's see, or just out of habit. Let's see if I can show a little bit closer map here of what's going on. Let's see here. As of August 11th, 2024, Russian occupied territories. Okay, this might show something. I don't know if it's how accurate it's going to be, but we'll put it up here. So that was Ukraine, right? We showed you what it looked like with respect to the rest of the world. Here it is, kind of a blow-up of it here. This is Crimea. This is all of Ukraine here. All this big outline here. It's actually a pretty big country. It's and so a little bit of background. Okay, I'll go way back. We had the Cold War between the U.S. and the Soviet Union for a long time, right after World War II. And that was done. Then we quickly got into this Cold War with Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union was composed of Russia and a whole bunch of other of these republics, or whatever they call them, oblasts. And Ukraine was one of those. It was one of those republics that was part of the Soviet Union. Then in around 1989 or so, I forget when it was, Russia was a big, communist country, centralized, just, it was never going to work. And so they became more and more bureaucratic and inefficient and non-responsive to the people, and blah blah blah. And eventually there was a revolution, and so the Soviet Union went away, and all these little republics that used to be part of the Soviet Union separated out and became their own sovereign countries. And Ukraine was one of them. But one of the problems was that in some of those republics, the Soviet Union had nuclear weapons, nuclear missiles, and stuff like that. And so when the nuclear missiles were part of the Soviet Union, and there was a Cold War, and it was kind of something that had been going on for a long time, it was more or less stable, and there was an understanding that they weren't really going to go to war and all this kind of stuff. But once they split up like that, it was like, oh shit, we can't have all these, separate little republics with nuclear weapons. We got to figure that out. And so in the Ukraine, what they did is they came up with Ukraine didn't want to just give away the missiles because they could use those to protect themselves, or to as a threat, to retaliate if somebody attacked them. And so they could, but the bigger guys on the block said, no, you can't do that. We gotta take them back. What do you want? And they said, we'll guarantee our existence. You guys protect us, and then we'll give up the missiles. And so they had an agreement that they came up with, a memorandum, but it was between the U.S. and the Soviet Union and Ukraine, and it said that Ukraine was giving up their weapons, the nuclear weapons, and that the U.S. and Soviet Union would protect them from invasion, and that was the deal. So that was back in early 90s, I guess they did that. I forget when they did that. They called it the Buddha. I forget. Shit, I don't remember if that was the name or not. I have difficulty recalling proper nouns. I have dyslexia, so sometimes I can't recall names that I know, even though I know they're in there. So, so they gave up their nukes in exchange for having protection from the U.S., protection by the U.S. and Russia, to recognize their sovereignty and protect them from anybody who fights them, who tries to invade. And so that went on a long time, since the early 90s all the way through. And then during the Obama administration, when the Soviet Union first fell, the U.S. put a ton of money into Russia, and it was looking like Russia was going to become democratic and things were going to really be pretty good. But it went south, and Russia went autocratic, and ties between U.S. and Russia went back to the old Cold War days. And by the 21st century, really, it was pretty clear that Russia and the U.S. were going to be enemies again. So ever since, I don't know, like when we went into Iraq, I guess, it was, we were enemies with Russia then from that time forward. And so then in 2014, Russia was hosting the Olympics, and Putin, autocrat, trying to make himself look good. That's what they do. They have certain personality that way. They try to make themselves look good. And anyway, so they spent a ton of money I forget where it was. It was up here somewhere. I forget. They spent a ton of money, built a big stadium, did a whole bunch of stuff, and wanted to look good to the rest of the world. Basically, they were really trying to do that. Putin was really trying to look good to the rest of the world, and so he spent a ton of money. And then Obama, while all this was going on, like I don't remember, it was right before, or right after the Olympics, maybe even during the Olympics. During the Obama, I won't say Obama did it or U.S. was involved in it, but there was a the Ukraine was being run by an autocrat, which was a puppet of Russia. And so during that, in 2014. During the Olympics, while Russia was trying to look good and all this kind of stuff, a pretty well coordinated revolution took place in Ukraine. Oh, let me bring this up here so I can see. A well organized revolution took place in the Ukraine, and they threw out Russia's puppet and installed somebody who was, democratic minded, more Western. And that just totally just infuriated Putin. Here's Putin on his high of, the whole world is watching. We've got the Olympics, blah, and look at how great we are. And then there's this revolution, and they toss out his puppet, and he was pissed. He was really upset, and he reacted emotionally, and just invaded this part down here area here called Crimea. And Russia actually has a base here in part of Crimea, and there are a lot of Russians, ethnic Russians, or former Russians or whatever in this area. So it wasn't too hard for him to take this area just by, having people who were part of his apparatus who were implanted here, embedded in this area. So it was pretty easy for him to take this. So he took this area called Crimea, and nobody, most of the world didn't recognize that they still said it was part of Russia and everything, part of Ukraine, and but Obama didn't do anything about it at that time, which was kind of weird. I was surprised that they didn't do anything about it, but they didn't. They just let it go. And then later on, about almost 10 years later, when was it? When was the 22nd? Is there? Okay, yeah, February 22nd. So that was 8 years later. After that, it kept staying democratic, kept going, moving. Ukraine is doing. Their army was participating in NATO exercises, and it was just they were moving more and more west to a Western world towards NATO and all that. And so Putin said, "Okay, fuck you. I'm gonna send in my army and just invade the whole thing, all of Ukraine." And so he put his amassed his troops on the northern border. And it was a slow process, actually. It was over a few weeks. He moved them all there and put them in position, and everybody talked about what he was going to do. And before he went in, the U.S. didn't discourage him at all. Let's put it that way. The U.S. wanted him to go in because they knew what was coming. And Putin was just totally played by Obama, I think, on this thing. He put all his troops here, and was it Obama who was in there? Yeah, it was Obama. And so he put all his troops here, and he was kind of testing to see whether he could go in, what the world would do and all this kind of stuff. And the U.S. just gave a really flaccid, don't go in there or we'll slap your wrist, that kind of thing, wink, wink. go ahead. We don't care. That's the message that U.S. was sending to Russia. And so Russia invaded. And everybody, before Russia went in, everybody was saying, oh, this will be a matter of, a few days, and Russia will have the capital, and it'll be over, and that's it. And they'll have Ukraine. Everybody kept saying that. And when I saw that, I said, no. The Ukrainian troops have been training with NATO. This is not going to be a quick thing for Russia. But Putin apparently thought it was going to be quick. Everybody thought it was going to be quick, and so Putin invaded, and now here we are over two and a half years later, and they got nothing. They stirred up some when the Crimea thing happened. They started stirring up stuff over here because there were a lot of Russian people living in this area, and so they were stirring up this is Donbass or whatever oblast. Donetsk Oblast, I think, is the official name of it. I can't pronounce these names, but it's mostly Russian. I mean, a lot of Russian ethnicity there. So it's easy for Russia and Putin to stir up unrest over here, and get them, stir people up, propaganda, all that kind of stuff, to try to get people against the whole Ukrainian government. And so when they invaded, they took this area. They tried to get into Kyiv and couldn't. Kiev. That's what Kyiv. Everybody's saying Kyiv now. It used to be Kiev, and then for some reason when Russia went in, they changed it to Kyiv. I don't know. It's funny how these they change the names of things when there's some news event. They change the pronunciation of the cities for some reason. I don't know why they do that. But Kiev, that's what it should be. But everybody's calling it Kyiv now. So anyway, so that's what's going on. That's the whole background, and they've been fighting all this time. And the line moves back and forth on the map and blah blah blah. So, but during all this time, and when Russia first went in, the U.S. was just, when Russia went in, I said, damn, give Ukraine anything, no limits, any weapon, anything they need to stop Russia. Because not only is that just Russia taking, an autocratic country trying to take over a country that's moving in the direction of democracy, it's also just, by the rules of international law, you can't just have a country invade another country and take their territory. That just destabilizes the whole international order when you do that. So, but the U.S. instead of slapping Russia down, they just hemmed and hawed, and I think what it is just the arms industry, the people who make the weapons want to have as much fighting and to have the fighting last as long as possible, so they can make a lot of money on the weapons. That's what it is, and they lobby Congress, and so Congress, does whatever they want, and so that's good. So the war's just been dragging on and on and on because of that. But finally, now I guess we gave Ukraine some F-18s or something. In any case, so that's the background. But the big news is that way up here, there's a where is it? Up here somewhere, I think it's that one. Is a little, that one there is an oblast, one of the oblasts of Russia, called Kursk, I think is what you call it. So it's a region, like a state, say, of Russia or whatever, like, or county, state. And it's part of Russia. And throughout this whole war, the U.S. and everybody kept saying, Ukraine can't attack Russia on their soil. It's like, what are you talking about? Russia just attacked Ukraine, but Ukraine can't fight back, can't go into the Russian territory or send missiles or whatever into Russian territory. That's idiotic. They were afraid that if the weapons that were sent from the West into Ukraine were used to fight to actually drop bombs on Russian soil, that would get Russia upset enough to start a war with NATO. But that's BS. That's the last thing Putin wants. Putin does not want to start a war with NATO. That'd be the end of him and the end of Russia, you know? It's stupid. I don't know why. So when you hear people saying that, it's just a bunch of bull. There's no way that's not going to happen. At least not Putin isn't going to make it happen. The U.S. might make it happen. NATO might want to make it happen. But Putin doesn't want that to happen. So now what Ukraine did is they've been for months now just been sending drones and missiles and, little squads or whatever to hit and run, that type of thing into Russian territory. But now they actually launched a full-scale invasion type thing. They actually grabbed territory. They went into this Kursk Oblast and took territory, Russian territory. So it was a real big deal. And meanwhile, the Russians were trying to do an offensive over here in the east somewhere. I don't know where. I didn't look that up, but they're trying to, take more territory somewhere. So the AP wrote an article about this, and they're saying that 100,000 civilians had to flee, in that part of Russia, and that. Russia is saying that the reason Ukraine was doing that was in order to try to disrupt their offensive stuff in the eastern Ukraine. But first casualty of war is the truth, right? Who knows what's going on? But there are people talking about this. And let's see here, Ukrainian forces under tight secrecy. Well, here's a news article about it. It's not that secret, right? Russia has been okay, let's see here. They're saying it's a blow to Russia. And another one of the reasons why I guess you wouldn't want a full-scale invasion of Russia is that from their citizenry standpoint, right now this thing's been going on for years and years, and a lot of their kids are getting killed. They're getting drafted and sent in there and getting killed. Kind of like this is kind of like their Vietnam almost. So if Ukraine attacks them, then it's easier for Russia to rally their citizenry to back the war. But here they're quoting this retired general Andrei Gurylev, who's in the lower house of the Russian parliament, criticized the military for allowing that invasion to happen, for failing to stop the Ukrainians from invading. This is a general, former general. So, and it's amazing for anybody to speak out against Putin, and what, in Russia they don't allow that much unless it's very well coordinated and controlled and all that. But here's a now it may be that just guys just saying, later on they actually quoted him here saying, regrettably the group of forces protecting the border didn't have its own intelligence assets. No one likes to see the truth in reports. Everybody just wants to hear that it's all good. So maybe his motive is not necessarily just to criticize the Russian military, but just to get more money or whatever for his little pet project or who knows what there. But anyway, so that's a big deal. This is kind of big news, that the Ukraine is actually putting their troops into Russia, and taking territory. That's kind of a big deal. So that was another story that I wanted to bring up with a little bit of background on it about what's going on. So yeah, it's people fighting, and then of course, just to make sure you understand, why. I mean, there's this particular thing is about the reason why I support the Ukrainians is because they were trying to move towards a democracy, and Russia's autocratic country is invading them and taking, you can't just allow that. You can't allow another country to invade. Same way I don't like what Israel's doing. They're invading a country and taking away their territory, So here's the main thing. The Ukrainian forces swiftly rolled into the town of Sudza, about 10 kilometers, 6 miles over the border, after launching an attack. They reportedly still hold the western part of the town, which is the site of an important natural gas transit station. So, there you go, huh? Fossil fuels, again, get involved in these wars. And Ukraine is a huge supplier of natural gas, and Russia, their pipeline got bombed. So fossil fuels gets involved in there all anyway. So that was I don't know. I couldn't find much else that was going on that was worth talking about, really. Oh wait, here's something in the Congo. There were some people were killed. I don't know what the details are right now on what's going on, but that's just, it's another one of these resource cursed areas, the Congo, where they, and it goes all the way back to colonialism and all that, So they're still fighting there. Talking about the stock market. So yeah, the rest of the stories I saw were just basically, just minor crime incidents, or, there's a fire, there's, stuff that really doesn't have that much impact, or doesn't help. It doesn't help us work our democracy. That's why you want to learn about what's going on in the world, because it helps you make decisions and helps you run, as the people of the country, to run the country, right? That's we're the people. We're supposed to be running the country, right? We're the citizens of the country. We run it. In a democracy, the people run the country. The people who make the decisions and do stuff. So that's why we want to try to know what's going on about these things. And if it's just somebody gets kidnapped or killed or something somewhere, and it's not connected to anything, it's just a minor crime somewhere, and it's just sensational the way it happened or whatever, they'll put it in the news, and it just crowds out other stuff, and you can, and as a consumer of the news, you only have a certain amount of capacity. You've got your own life going on and stuff like that. So you only have a certain amount of capacity of what you can learn about and know about and stuff like that. So if they keep hitting you with all this stuff about, there's a firefight, or or there's a weather report, there's the latest hurricane, or or puppy dogs and something, or whatever, it's just you don't have enough room for the real stuff that you need to know about that actually affects, what we do, and how things. Now, we're involved in this Middle East war now. There was another one in here. Oh, you know what? That was another one, and I don't think I have it here. But as I was going through here, I saw that Austin has sent a. That's our Secretary of Defense has sent a submarine to off the into the Mediterranean or somewhere near the Middle East to basically get involved in the war there now. So we're in it. We sent a submarine over there. We're in it. And we've been, fired off a ton of missiles. Anti-missile missiles, still missiles, right? So we're in it, and we bombed the was it some people in Yemen, I think. So yeah, we're in that war too now. But you probably won't. I don't know how much you hear about it in the mainstream media, but you heard about it here anyway. So, all right. So it's that's 45 minutes, I think. That's long enough for news, right? I don't know if there's anything else going on. Oh, there was something here about the CIA, which is kind of a I don't know. There's a case, part of the Me Too movement. Yeah, this is important because it affects people's rights and stuff like that. So anyway, there's a I didn't read it because it's behind a paywall, but the CIA was not being nice to women, and so there was some case. Somebody sued the CIA, I guess, and for their civil rights or gender discrimination or whatever it was. So that's going to trial, I guess. So that's kind of important. I don't know if you need to know all the details about the trial, but just to know that that's going on. That the CIA was kind of, because they act in secrecy, right? They can get away with stuff like that. That's not the first time they've been involved in that kind of stuff. They were like that with racism and lots of things. So anytime a organization runs in secrecy and they don't allow people to see what's going on, then bad things happen like that. That's just the way it works. So you gotta have, the more transparency there is, the more democracy we have. The less transparency, the more opaque that government is, then the less democracy we have. That's a fact. That's just a fact of the way democracy works. And then they have an article here about more people reporting how bad Israel was treating its prisoners in this war. So that's really bad. I don't understand why we're still supporting them. I think that it's just basically the U.S. now, right? It's the U.S. and maybe a few of our satellite countries are supporting Israel, and everybody else is against them now, I think, isn't that? I don't know. I haven't been following it that closely. But, yeah, that's just really, really bad. What else we got here? I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, okay. So, that's the news and analysis and opinion. Lots of opinion, too. But hopefully I gave some background and analysis, stuff like that. And hopefully I didn't make too many mistakes. If I did, let me know, and I'll correct it in my next stream. So appreciate everybody being here. Hit the follow button if you're watching this on the VOD. Hit the follow button. I don't just do the news here. I do lots of stuff. As I said at the beginning, I do a lot of science and technology stuff. Last night I did some live experiments, live on stream. I did some experiments. I do I'll try to do at least one IRL per week. I'm vegan, so I'm talking about veganism. Maybe talk about how to cook things, or if you have questions about veganism, I can answer them. Nutrition, that kind of thing. And movies. I like to try to do a movie night on Saturday night. Maybe I'll move that. I don't know. I like to do movies and movie reviews. So a lot of different stuff. So if you like any of that, hit the follow button. I'm trying to get affiliate. I don't have enough followers yet to be affiliate, so would appreciate it. So everybody, take care. Thank you very much for joining the stream. Bye.
All right, here we go. First thing we climb a tree and and maybe then we talk, or sit silently and listen to our thoughts, illusions of someday, cast in a golden light. No dress rehearsal, this is our life. And that's where the hornet stung me, and I had a feverish dream with revenge and doubt. Tonight we smoke them out. You are ahead by a century. You are ahead by a century. You are ahead by a century. Stare in the morning shroud, and then the day began. I tilted your cloud, you tilted my hand. Rain falls in real time, and rain fell through the night. No dress rehearsal, this is our life. Well, that's when the hornet stung me, and I had a serious dream with revenge and doubt. Tonight we smoke them out. You are ahead by a century. 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 And disappointing you is getting me down. Hydrate or drive, absolutely. That is good. Dihydrogen oxide. That is very, very good. Dihydrogen oxide.